Here goes, Papa.
Cool.
All right. So we're doing it. We're freaking learning Italian.
We are learning Italian.
90 days. So the strategy, like you learned Spanish. You said you learned Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And
I learned Spanish in middle school. I don't know Spanish.
yeah, exactly. And I think that the reason is like traditional methods really don't work that well. Everyone says, "Oh, you need immersion. You need immersion to learn." But
Yeah, and I wasn't like rich enough at the time to go to Peru, to go to the Peru trip.
exactly.
Oh, we're going to Machu Picchu. It's like,
And you
oh
don't
well.
listen when you go to Peru, you don't speak any Spanish either because it's super tourist. And to be honest, most people, everyone who learns Spanish in high school or any language in high school doesn't speak it, is unable to speak it. I would say 99% of people. When they say, "Oh, I can speak a little," they're not really
Really
that
don't.
honest. Exactly. So we're gonna go over our strategy
Okay.
for this next 90 days. Um, basically, so have you heard of like the different levels of languages? B1,
Yeah, you
A2.
said you took the C2 test in French.
Yeah, I took a C1 level in French, which is like advanced, is an advanced
Okay.
uh, level. So like those tests, they're usually when you're learning a language, they're broke up into like four different pieces, like
Okay.
reading,
Okay.
writing, speaking, and listening. And I think a lot of people do this. They learn a language and they're like, I can read it. I can read. I can understand it. And that's really common. So they're really good at reading, but they're not great at either maybe speaking or listening. That's usually what people
Okay.
are really bad at. And so we, in this, our goal is not to read Italian. Our goal is to speak Italian, interact with people.
Mhm.
So instead of just like focusing on reading, writing, speaking, and listening, we're just going to focus on speaking. Just
Mhm.
we're going to eliminate those other three so we can save a bunch of time. And that's like that's the first hack of all of this. We're just going to
Okay.
focus on speaking.
All right.
So the method we're going to use is sort of based on the Fluent Forever method. It was published probably earlier this decade by Gabe Weiner, and it's a four-step method more or less. Um, the first thing is all right. We've gone over like usually when you learn a language, you learn vocabulary maybe for your family. So you learn mom, dad,
Mm-hmm.
but you also learn probably uncle.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
probably learn also step brother.
like baby capacity vocabulary.
Totally. But you learn like mom, dad, but then you also learn uncle, step brother, grandparent. The Fluent
Okay.
Forever method says that around 90% of all language is only about 1,000 words, more or less. And with those 1,000 words, you can create the majority of stuff you come into play with. So,
Okay.
so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on those those 1,000 words while we're learning. We're going to use that as a basis because we believe that if we can learn the most common words, we can have the most conversation or the most powerful words.
Mhm.
Um, so that's the first thing is Fluent Forever emphasizes that. The second is based on a Middlebury language school technique, which is a famous language school in the U.S. actually, and it's not translating. Everyone says that. Don't translate. If you are translating in your head, uh, you're gonna reach a wall. But how do you do that? We're gonna go through that. We're gonna actually do that. While we're learning, we're gonna be in only Italian when we're learning.
Okay.
Um, the third rule of this and Fluent Forever is really important is a lot of times you get a vocabulary list. Sixth
Yeah, like
grade.
I used to get in Spanish.
Exactly. And people are like gato. I need a gato. Necesito un gato. It's super common. We never focus on pronunciation because I think there's a belief that n- English speakers or non-native speakers can't. It's not important. They'll never learn it.
Mhm.
Um, Fluent Forever, we're going to focus on pronunciation early. We're going to focus on pronunciation, forming the words of our mouth. We're also going to focus on another part, which is called prosody, which is the sort of flow of the words. And in that, we're going to focus on right at the start. While we're learning from day one, we're going to have great pronunciation. We're going to speaking correctly and make that a focus.
So like, say prosody, you mean like, it's a me, a Mario.
The It's a Me, Mario, the rhythm,
That's prosody.
that's prosody. And that, like, anyone hearing that, they'd know, oh, that's Mario, no matter how their accent is. Uh, there's a quick, there's a
Well,
quick,
that's Italian.
there's a quick clip about this, and I think it's really powerful. And I think I've told you before is, all right, a baby speaking English, let's say, they don't
Yeah.
have a fully formed mouth. They can't actually pronounce every word.
Yeah. You said they don't have an accent.
You would never say a baby's talking. You'd never be like, that's a foreign baby. You'd
Yeah.
say that baby is a baby, but is an
Yeah.
English speaking baby. But they can't pronounce all the words. So
Yeah.
there must be something other than pronunciation, the forming of words in your mouth that gives an the essence of an English speaker, and that's prosody. So we're going to be focusing on prosody pronunciation. And the last thing we're going to be focusing on, the Fluent Forever, through all of this, we're going to be using spaced repetition to review these and basically hammer it in our head. Spaced
Those are those
repetition,
flashcards, right?
just flashcards.
I passed my personal trainer cert using those.
Exactly. It's a memorization technique. It's smart flashcards. It's gonna like quiz us on stuff we're bad at and stuff we're good at. It's not gonna quiz us on anymore. Usually, there's a saying: you have a sheet of vocabulary words. You always start at apple. You're never gonna get to zebra. But spaced repetition is smart. It'll give you a zebra if you're bad at it, or give you octopus, whatever it is.
How bad you are.
So that's it. It's four things. We're not going to be translating. We're going to be learning pronunciation and prosody first. We're going to be basing everything off the most common words. We're going to be smart, using data, learn common words that are useful for us, and we're going to be hammering in our heads with spaced repetition. And we're only
spaced repetition. So am I going to have to download something for that? I remember I used Anki.
Anki is all we're going to be using. Anki is our spaced repetition software. It's free on the internet. And we'll have a video where we install it and go over the card creation process. So our plan is 4 steps as well.
Okay.
We're only going to be doing 4 things every day.
Okay.
And so we're going to be talking to italki tutors online. We're going to be using informal tutors. They're between $6 and $10 an hour.
And that's italki.com?
.com, yeah. It's just a site that connects you with informal tutors. My belief, you take a regular class, you go into this Italian class, there's 10 people there, maybe 2 hours. Maybe you spent $500 on 10 classes. That's not normal. 300 maybe at a community's place.
The $6 and $10, it's cheap as hell.
It's cheap as hell. But how much time are you speaking Italian in a traditional class? 2-hour class.
Till the end. Probably not till you get to like an intermediate level class.
Well, yeah, maybe you'll say like 1 word, or maybe you'll speak for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
We're going to be speaking for half the time. Okay. And so we're going to be being efficient is really important.
Just getting hammered by Italian.
We're going to be forced to speak, because if they're not speaking, we'll be speaking.
Okay.
And so we're making those mistakes.
Okay.
It'll be cool. So the 4 plan is this. Basically, we're going to use our most common word list as a basis to work with our tutors and create sentences that are really personal for us using that list. So most common words,
1,000 words.
Yeah, the 1,000 words. We're going to be using 625, but it's that kind of in that vein. We're going to be making sentences that are really personal for us, so we can use them. We're not going to say that like the dog is green. That's useless. What we'll say is, oh, I had a dog when I was growing up. Well, I've been waiting to get a dog in my apartment, but my landlord doesn't allow it. They're real things. Those are real sentences that you would use or I would use. We're going to make sure we're focused on those kind of sentences, not on the dog is green or whatever. So that's the first thing. We're going to be starting off just in English. We'll be asking, how do you say the dog? I had a dog when I was little in Italian. We'll be translating it out, those thing in Italian, and we'll record it. Then
All
we're
right,
going to create Anki cards from that. So that's the first thing. That's going to be happening, during the week. We're going to be working with these tutors, creating these sentences. Then we're going to be creating the Anki cards and reviewing them.
Okay.
And the last thing we're doing is we're just going to be using a prosody trainer, the prosody method. We're going to decide on someone we sort of want to sound like and work on our prosody as we're listening.
Okay.
It's a listening exercise on the train, when we, working out, on our bike ride. We can have that going, and slowly we're going to download that rhythm into our head. And that's it. We're doing nothing else.
That sounds
No
pretty simple.
reading, no writing, no changing our smartphone into Italian. It's all useless. We're going to be really efficient. Every minute we are learning Italian, it's going to be getting us better at speaking.
And then we're going to go to Italy.
Yeah. We're going to Italy. Yeah, that's it. It's going to be easy.
Right.
It's going to be hard, but it's going to be basic. It's going to be not trying to. A lot of people spend 2 hours watching an Italian TV show, and they say, "Oh, I'm studying Italian," but that's not really moving you forward in speaking.
Yeah, you might be studying Italian culture.
Exactly, and that's useful, and that's very fascinating. But we don't have unlimited time, and we don't have years. We have 30 or 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be really, really judicious with what we do. But everything we do is going to be increasing, going up in the Italian speaking department. And that is pronunciation, prosody, real Italian sentences from real Italian speakers that are useful to us in everyday speech. Because we have to be thinking like sentences that we use are going to use on our trip, meeting people, telling themselves about our lives, asking about their lives. That's it.
Sounds good.
It's going to be freaking awesome.
All right, dude. I'm ready to start. What's the next step?
I think in a little more than a week.
Okay, great.
Any questions?
No, that's it. I'm really excited. This will be my first time hacking a language, actually trying to learn to speak a language. So,
dude, 90 days is all we need. We're going to get very fluent in a very small amount of time.
All right, sweet. See ya.